What's up, Ferrumers? Welcome to the Ferrum Athletic Company podcast. I am your host, Andrea Warner. I am also the co-owner and co-founder of Ferrum Athletic Company. If you would like more information on us, please visit our website at www.ferrumathleticco.com. And now, on to today's show. What's up, Ferrumers? Welcome to episode number 7, lucky number 7 of the Ferrum Athletic Company podcast. And my special guest for today is the beautiful Ciana Rose.
Yes. Now I am flowers.
As of 2 weeks now?
I think so.
You guys have been married?
Yeah.
Officially 2 weeks? Hey, you made it 2 weeks. Congratulations.
I know. It's weird.
It is kind of weird, actually.
Yeah. I'm like, nothing's changed, but a lot has changed. I don't know.
All the things have changed.
Yeah.
So what I'd really like to start with is how we got so lucky with you and Aaron being a package deal that we didn't even know was a package deal. I talked with Aaron about this last week. And when you guys... First of all, we didn't even know you existed.
Yeah.
Aaron waited until the 10th hour to be like, hey, can I bring my girlfriend to dinner? Mm-hmm. And we're like, you have a girlfriend?
Yeah. Yeah.
So we had been talking with Aaron, and we're in the process of bringing him here to hire him. And we were like, who are you moving here with? Mm-hmm. And he mentioned you, and you come to dinner with us and tell us where we went from there.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny because I think from the very first second that he heard of Ferrum, he was like, I was part of the process the whole time for sure. But I remember he came to Jacksonville for like a weekend, mm-hmm. and, stayed in a hotel for a night or so and saw the gym, shadowed a little bit and was like, I love it, raving. And so he came home, and then I think it was like a weekend or two following, we both came, and it was just for the day because he had already committed to the job.
Right. And
so we were searching for apartments, driving all over Jacksonville. Didn't know the area at all. And we finished our day with sushi, which we both were happy about. We love sushi.
We ate all the sushi that night. The people serving us just kept bringing it. Do you guys ever stop eating?
Yeah, I was like, oh no, I'm kind of nervous. I'm like, it's all you can eat, and I do nutrition, so. But
awkward.
Yeah, I remember Sherry brought her daughter. I was like, okay, definitely. Felt we both, Aaron had already met you guys, but felt very comfortable from the start. And, I remember when he moved to Jacksonville a week or two before I did, because I was finishing out my jobs in Orlando. And then when I did end up, getting to Jacksonville, I was like, so can I go to your gym? And do I need to sign up for a membership? Yeah. I'm here too, but, I'm just a person. I'm not yet part of the gym. So I was, it was a weird dynamic because Aaron was the new coach. So everyone's like, who's that guy? But then I'm the new girl, and people didn't really know our relationship. So, people would come up to me and introduce themselves, just thinking I was a new member. And then when I would say I was from Orlando, they're like, what brought you here? And I'm like, Coach Aaron. And they're like, oh my gosh, putting two and two together.
We had no idea.
Yeah, so it was funny to see people kind of connect the dots over time. I'm trying to think how I did get started with nutrition. I think just in conversations, told you guys that my full-time job was remote nutrition coaching, and there were a lot of people interested in nutrition at our gym, but no real program or process for that.
Yeah.
And so, I talked to you guys, and I talked to the people who I work for remotely just about how I could make it work, because I think for me, I also see it as a big area of like focus that people are really confused about and, are approaching in ways that actually aren't the best for them. And
absolutely.
Even if just like a conversation can help, I was like, I want to do it. So, we figured out a way to kind of make it work, and we created from there a workbook because, just with, again, like my remote job, it needed to be in person and paper and pen kind of thing. So I was like, okay, how can we make this like legit, but not like so tedious that it's, not worth it, I guess.
Right.
So we created a workbook, and kind of put together all of like the nutrition education and, food log, biofeedback log, and kind of got started from there.
Yeah, and if we go back to, when you guys moved here and you were coming into the gym and you were working out, and I remember Sherry and I looking at Aaron and we're like, does she coach? Like, has she coached? Like, you have coached? And he's like, yeah, she has some. It's like, then we were comfortable approaching you saying, hey, would you like to help us with our group classes? Every now and then. Because at that point in time, we had known that your full-time job was online nutrition coaching, which you work for a great company. What's the name of your company?
SD Evolution.
Yes. And you do remote stuff with them, right? And so we didn't want to, number one, step on their toes. Number two, consume more of your time, right? We wanted it to be, we need help, you're good, we want this to work, we don't want to overwhelm you. And it worked, it's worked out perfectly.
Yeah.
As far as you help us with our group classes, everybody adores you, which is, impossible. Like if you were to meet Ciana, she's easily adorable.
Thank you.
When we started, we knew that nutrition for us was a big gap. But let's start here. Actually, before we dive deep into nutrition, I want to go back to your coaching. One of the things that I feel that you have to offer that is very unique, that I don't think many people understand that you offer, is your pre and postnatal training. You have your certification in this.
Yeah.
And I want to spend a little bit of time talking about that certification because I've never had kids personally, but we work with a ton of women who have.
Yeah.
Our coaches on staff, Sherry, Mel, Rachel's pregnant. For females having children, this is not like you just have a baby and that was super easy. You're talking about a really big life-changing thing, but it's not just life-changing in the fact that you're having a baby and it changes everything. It's also extremely life-changing for your body.
Yeah.
And I want to talk a little bit about the fact that I feel that women kind of don't take that very seriously. Like they just think it's a natural part of being a woman. You have a baby and then you just go back to your daily life.
Yeah.
So let's talk about what you do with that as a coach.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree. I think in general, it's a like misinformed, again, topic. So one kind of odd recommendation that doctors have given in recent, or like I would say up until now, has been like not to lift more than 30 pounds and, to not do core work. And it's with no like kind of research backed evidence behind that. It's just kind of like, that's not good for you. Don't do that. And then it's either, I would say for women who don't have like any experience with lifting, putting fear into their heads, like, now I'm so fragile and like I can't do anything. And, at one point or at some point, that child is going to exceed 30 pounds. You're going to have to get out of bed and use your core, So again, just going back to kind of those loose recommendations, they just aren't realistic, like for even someone who doesn't train or work out.
Yeah.
But then when you get to, women who do lift and who do train consistently. And kind of going back to when Erin and I got to Ferrum, it was still CrossFit. And so I think that was an additional kind of, fear factor for women, is that, okay, this is a CrossFit gym, again, back then, and I'm pregnant and I'm postpartum, this is really scary. I don't know what to do. And so when it comes to being pregnant or postpartum, the biggest thing, is, education in general. I think a lot of people think just our core is our abdomen, our front side. But it's our pelvic floor, it's our diaphragm, it's our erectors, it's, a lot more than just, that six pack. So, again, just educating on what your core is, because obviously as you're pregnant and, once you're postpartum, your belly and your core, your abdomen, they all have to expand. And so a big thing people get nervous about is diastasis recti and having that kind of coning or ab separation. And so again, core is a big thing. Breath work is a huge part of it, as that, facilitates how our diaphragm and pelvic floor move.
And I think people misunderstand or don't place enough importance on the breath work part of it. The breath work is a major part of what we have going on with really our entire body.
Yeah.
It has a lot to do with our central nervous system. And for our women that come to you, I mean, there's things that they need to do before having the baby. But then afterwards, a doctor, they get to 6 weeks postpartum, 6 weeks, and the doctor's like, cool, go for it. And most women don't realize what's the extent of what's happened internally. And they go back to doing their regular activities. Let's say they go back to joining the gym, running, whatever they were doing, and they just go head first. Yep, it's been 9 weeks or 9 months. I'm so ready for this. I'm ready to get back. I want my life back, my body back, my time back, whatever it is. We've seen so many women that come back after having a baby, and it's not just immediately after having a baby. It could be years down the road where hip problems are a problem. Back problems are a problem, and it's because they didn't do what they needed to coming back from having a baby. That needs to be, I feel, a lot of importance placed on that step-by-step recovery from having a baby to going back into your active lifestyle.
Well, I think recovery is a important word, because really, not so much pregnancy, but depending on who you are, it could be pregnancy. Labor and giving birth in general is traumatic. It's, depending on, again, your experience, you could have, torn, you could have had a C-section where they're literally cutting into your abdomen, and we treat it like it's nothing. We think that you can just bounce back, again, in 6 weeks, 8 weeks, but then we treat a broken arm differently, or we treat, like a torn meniscus differently, when I would argue that, labor is way more traumatic than some of those, more common, again, pregnancy is very common, but more, I guess, thought of injuries,
Right. Sherry had 2 C-sections, and her youngest is now 14. She's still numb where her C-section scar is. And she's even been told that potentially some of the back and hip issues that she has could be coming from her C-section scarring. And she's been told on a number of occasions that she needs to work on that. And here it is 14 years later.
You're once you have a child, you're postpartum forever. It's not just the 6 months or 12 months after, you've had a baby and your body can't go back, not that that's a bad thing. You can still crush training and crush life being, a mom, but your body will have always gone through that experience.
Yeah, and it's different. You know, it's not that it's not broken.
Yeah.
And I don't want people to think that having a baby, you know, now you're broken for forever, but your body is just different.
Yeah.
After that entire process, because like you said, it's very traumatic. And I think a lot of importance should be brought to that entire process.
Yeah.
Pre going into it, what needs to happen. That it also has whatever you do pre coming into birth dictates a lot about how that birth process goes. It can be made easier.
Yeah.
Just from the education and the health coming into that whole process.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, I think just being educated, even if you don't take action on that, can put you in like a better mindset and kind of prepare you for those experiences a little bit better. You know, I think when there's a lot of unknowns, that's when, you know, we start to feel anxious or scared. But when we, you know, fill in those unknowns with answers, we start to like kind of take a deep breath, and we are like, okay, you know, I may still be nervous about what this process looks like, but at least I know what to expect or what is normal versus not normal. And, you know, again, having those answers can kind of like free up some of that like mental like anguish. But,
you know, and what you do with the clients that I've seen you work with, it looks like personal training. So I don't want everybody to think that we're talking like Lamaze class.
Yeah.
Right? It looks like personal training that you would do for a person who is looking to be fit and active. There's just some special things that need to go along with those training sessions. So it's not that you're babying them in any way.
Yeah, no.
It's still a physical training session with weightlifting movements, resistance movements, maybe a little bit of cardio with it. But during that entire time, I've watched you work with people, and you're discussing breathing the entire time, and heart rate, and things that could potentially be dangerous while they're going through the process. For example, box jumps, because falling clearly is a major no-no. We don't want to put you in the risk of falling. So things like box jumps, rope climbs.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sure you talk about jump rope or any of those kind of things while you're going through these trainings.
Yeah, I mean, there will definitely be, and it, you know, depends on when you're kind of starting training, or maybe you're just continuing training, but it's changing because you're now pregnant or postpartum. There will definitely be some movements that are like what we call contraindications that, you know, could essentially do more harm than good, but understanding that that's for just a season. You know, it's not like eventually, you know, you may be able to get back to box jumps or double unders or, you know, running, burpees, you know, the things that are a little bit more intense or just put a little bit more impact on the body. Right. Those are just things that, you know, can be scaled back to, you know, a level that is, you know, healthy and attainable for those seasons, again, whether that's pregnancy or postpartum. But I mean, that again is how we would approach injuries, or maybe someone who is newer to the gym. It's not, again, that you're being babied or we're like, you know, only letting you do certain things because, you know, you're, I don't know, a special case. Like, you're still who you were, or you're still, you know, at the level you were at, just with things that we need to now like take into account.
Yeah, absolutely, into consideration, as opposed to ignoring the process.
Yeah.
Right, because it plays a big role in that recovery afterwards. So if we move on to your next specialty, that is the deep dive into what I'm excited to talk about, is nutrition. And when we found out that you did online nutrition, you know, Sherry and I have been talking about a nutrition program in our gym for forever. That, to us, that's been the one thing that's really been missing. You know, we did nutrition challenges, we've done educational seminars, and you can do those things for people, but it's they treat it like a competition. Like, hey, I only have to do this for 30 days and I'm done.
Yeah.
Do they ever really learn anything from it? Maybe. I mean, I could stand in front of a room and talk for 2 hours on nutrition. I've done it where you've watched me.
Yeah.
And people ask all sorts of questions, but it's a matter of what they do from there application-wise. Like, we can stand there and talk all day long and people can ask questions, we'll answer them. But as soon as they leave, what's their motivation to continue to do it, right? So when we sat down with you about what our nutrition needed to look like, we came up with the idea that we wanted this to be a nutrition program that looks like nothing that the ordinary person sees. Now, we do have an amazing friend of ours, Bridget, on social media. I know it's being Bridget, who does functional medicine, food medicine, food is medicine.
Yeah.
And she takes a really deep dive into blood work and supplements, and she does an outstanding job. For the person who is looking to lose 10, 20 pounds, feel better, maybe doesn't know what the heck food is dealing with things like diabetes, some food allergies, that kind of stuff. This was a program that we wanted everybody to feel like they were going to get their bang for their buck, that they were going to be held accountable, and that we were going to make this like a lifestyle thing, right? So we came up with Ferrum Fed, and where we are fueling better humans. And we wanted this entire thing to be somewhat like personal training.
Yeah.
Like when people walk into our gym, they start with personal training and they get a full body assessment, and the whole process is very much about what they need to get back into an active lifestyle.
Yeah.
They get movement, they get lifestyle education, they get continuous check-ins on movement progress, how they're feeling, goals, so on and so forth. We wanted our nutrition program to look the same. Like, we want you to check in, go through a consultation, basically have an assessment, and we want this entire process to be built around what you need.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's not going to work. Right? So let's talk about what this nutrition program looks like when someone first walks in the door.
Yeah. So we have an assessment that we sit down and we talk through. It's not like a movement assessment where we're, looking at your body and stuff. We're more so having a conversation and asking you questions. And I think with the assessment portion of it, what surprises people most is that we're not just asking them about their nutrition. It's not just like, what'd you eat yesterday? Okay, well, we're moving forward now. Like, we're asking you, what your job looks like, what your work balance, work-life balance is, and what home looks like, and, who does grocery shopping, and who, is handling cooking, because, nutrition is a lot more than just food. It's your entire lifestyle. You're eating, hopefully, at least 3 times a day,
Fingers crossed.
Yeah. And so I would argue that with nutrition, it's something that takes up a lot more of our time than like training. We ideally, again, train maybe an hour, 3 to 6 times a week, depending on your level, So, nutrition is a part of our life regardless of, whether you're trying to focus on it or not. Like, you have to eat, you can't not. So we talk a lot more about, again, your lifestyle. We ask about, your stress, your sleep, really just digging into things that overall affect, where the scale is at and where your, health in general is at. Do you come into the gym energized, or do you come dragging? Do you, does your stress, is it managed well? Are you, managing that by talking it out with people, or are we managing that by downing a 6-pack of beer?
Right.
Like, these all play into account with our nutrition. So we talk a lot about that in the assessment. But kind of beyond that, the process looks different for everyone. I think the most frustrating thing that people come up with when regarding nutrition is that, there's no straightforward answer always. Like, if we don't know the ins and outs of your life, the answer will probably be, it depends. Because for someone, this, method A may work, and for someone, method B may work, So again, it really just depends on your lifestyle. I have some people who have never tracked, macros or calories and don't even know what that is. So we're just starting off by, keeping a food log, writing down what those meals are, what our drinks are, and just kind of building awareness. And then there are some people who are like, I've been tracking macros forever, and, I have a food scale and all that kind of stuff. And so for those people, we can start at a different place. We can start with tracking.
And, as far as making this look, like you said, very personal, we always say the hardest part of being human is being human. And what makes us all human is the fact that we're all different.
Yeah.
So what works for me doesn't work for Sherry. What works for Sherry doesn't work for you. And the only way that you as a coach knows what's going to work is by sitting down and meeting with these people on a regular basis and having these really deep down conversations. And a lot of times, even nutrition meetings can borderline kind of look like therapy because we all have a relationship with food. Yeah. Whether it's positive or negative, and some people are oblivious to the fact that we have this relationship with food, but we all have one. And it's figuring out our why. Yeah. Right? Like, why do we feel we need this? Why do we feel we need this? Yeah. Why? Like, it's not going to do you any good to look at someone. I think of Tiffany off the top of my head, who I absolutely adore. But for her, she likes to, she'll track stuff. She really doesn't like to. Yeah. So for you to be like, listen, I need you to track absolutely everything that you put in your mouth. I need you to weigh and measure every single bit of it. And I need you to tell me all about it. She's going to look at you and be like, probably not. Yeah. Right? Yeah. She's going to say, you're crazy, because that doesn't work for her. That doesn't resonate with her. Yeah. Like, she doesn't understand that. Yeah. So for her, your approach with her is going to be much different than the person who is very OCD about weighing and measuring their food, putting it into a calculator. They want to see all of the things. Like, Sherry's actually really good at that as far as her tracking is concerned. And she wants to it becomes like a game for her. She wants to make sure that she hits these numbers. Yeah. So each personality is different. Everybody's understanding is different. Yeah. So navigating that for you is a big part of what's made this program, I feel, successful. Yeah. And I think, just to kind of clarify what we mean by, different things will work for different people is, is this method sustainable? Because kind of going back to like, challenges or seminars, you could cut out sugar for 30 days, but will that last? Can you do that for the rest of your life? And, some people can and some people can't. Like, I would probably say I cannot, if you know Erin, we love our cookies. So, all the cookies, the cookie monsters. I think the biggest thing is like figuring out a method that is sustainable for you. Because, ultimately whatever your goal is, whether that is to like lose weight or, sleep better, again, whatever it is, you want that goal, or like once you achieve that goal, you want those results to last. Yeah. You don't want to lose 10 pounds and then, gain it back, or you don't want to sleep better for a week and then sleep crappy for the rest of your life. Like, whatever you're trying to achieve, you want that for, a good period of your life, or hopefully forever. So, again, I think when we talk about what works, we mean, what is sustainable. Like, and again, I think one thing that people get a little bit uncomfortable with, and it depends on, again, your why and how bad you want, said goal, is
the timeline of which it takes to reach said goal. Because one thing with our Ferrum Fed like program that we tell people in their consultation is that we have a 3-month commitment. And we do that mostly just to kind of set expectations of, if your goal is to lose 100 pounds, we're not probably going to do that in a month or two. So just letting you know, it will take probably at least 3 months to reach whatever goal you have. Just because, again, life happens. You know, you may be you may be consistent to something we put in place for a week, but then, you know, our great aunt dies and we have to go out of town, or you know, there are little stressors here and there that pop up that, even if you are, you know, being really intentional and putting a lot of effort towards, you know, the things that we're implementing, you can't always predict what's going to happen, and things change. And so, again, I think setting that expectation of what the timeline will look like is huge, because, you know, again, change of any kind doesn't happen overnight.
Oh my gosh, no.
So, you know, I think that those two things of, like, you know, setting expectations of like how long it will take to reach your goal, and again, setting out the plan in a way that is sustainable are like the two biggest things, I think.
And you know, the mental side of nutrition is the hardest part. You know, the physical eating part of it, or going to get food. And I mean, when you have someone saying, listen, I need you to eat at this time and I need you to eat this food. Great. The mental side of it that people go through of, we live in such a world of instant gratification.
Definitely.
Like when I turn my phone on, I expect it to work.
Yeah.
When I send a text message, I expect it to go through. Like if stuff doesn't happen in like the blink of an eye, then it must not be working, and this is crap, and we must be failing. And as you said, nutrition is a very long process. It's a journey.
Yeah.
And for most of our people, you didn't get to a point in your life in 2 months. It's going to take longer than 2 months to get out of a point in your life, right? Things happen as a process as we go through it.
Yeah.
So as people start nutrition, the reason why people usually stop after 2 weeks is that they expect to lose 20 pounds in 2 weeks, or they expect this big life-altering change that everybody's going to notice in 2 weeks. And when that doesn't happen, they're like, well, this diet, quote unquote, is stupid, and I'm done. And it's because they've either, number one, viewed it as a diet, which is negative. They've restricted everything, which is a negative. They have this mindset, like as soon as you tell somebody, hey, you can't have that, the brain doesn't associate can't.
Yeah.
It doesn't recognize can't. It recognizes can. So when you say, hey, you can't have alcohol, all that person's going to think about is the fact that they want alcohol. Like it makes them want it even more.
Yeah.
So the conversations that you have, I'm sure, are very focused around being very choosy about the words that you use.
Oh, yeah.
And it's trying to help people change the way they think about this entire process. And it's not about taking away.
Yeah.
It's about adding. Like, hey, we're going to start talking about adding. The big one I know is protein. We're going to start adding some protein.
Yeah.
You know, we're going to add fiber. We're going to add fruits and vegetables. We're going to add water. You know, the talking about things like alcohol, sodas, sugars, they're, I'm sure, gradual conversations as opposed to like, listen, I need you to stop all of that right now.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, it's funny because, again, like a couple people come to mind with these conversations of like, you know, adding things into our life versus taking away. And, you know, one of my clients specifically told me, like, I love my Diet Coke, right? And this is one thing I don't think I'm willing to give up, you know? And so I was like, that's fine, you know, we'll work around it. And for now, we're going to try to increase your water intake, for example. And, I would say a month goes by, 6 weeks go by, and she's like, I couldn't tell you, like, the last time I've had 2 Diet Cokes in a day. Like, usually that's my normal is 2.
Yeah. And
now I have 1, and that's not satisfying my thirst, So I think, when it comes to things like sugar, alcohol, our vices per se, like, when we put our focus on things that we're adding into our life, those kind of naturally become less of, they're not as enticing, I guess.
Yeah.
Just because, our brain isn't thinking about that. It's thinking about what we're adding. It's thinking about water, or it's thinking about protein. So with those things, again, it kind of naturally becomes an area that we care less and less about. But, for things like alcohol, this is a big reason why we talk more about what home life looks like. Or, I ask clients a lot of times, like, do you have any big events coming up, or like plans traveling, because with those sorts of situations, we don't live in a vacuum. We don't just live at home, right? Like, we see people, we travel, we have people coming to our homes. There's like football games, there's pool party, whatever you have going on. These are going to be different environments that we can practice a certain set of behaviors at home, but once we are taken out of that environment, our behavior now changes because different people are involved. Or with habits, we have these cues that basically let us know, okay, this is the next thing we're doing. Like, if maybe, for example, a behavior that is pretty common for people is to, like, grab their phone immediately when they wake up. The cue is that your phone is right next to your bed, plugged in, right?
Right.
So maybe if that's a habit you're trying to get rid of, we plug our phone in the kitchen. And now the cue that was to get on our phone immediately is gone, and we're kind of reducing the, like, likelihood that we get on our phone first thing in the morning. And so same thing with, like, again, nutritional, like, habits. So if you are, we'll say, not drinking water very often, and we want to try to drink more water, maybe we have a water bottle by our bedside now. And again, if you are now traveling, that's going to be different because maybe your bed is now the couch at someone's house, right?
Right.
So, we talk a lot about, how we can transfer the habits we've practiced, in environments that we're comfortable in and that are consistent, or what's the word? Like, we can anticipate what's going to happen. We talk a lot about how we can transfer those sort of habits and behaviors to environments that are, unpredictable or just different, because, again, we want these things to be sustainable. We don't want a week away to totally derail us.
Yeah. And I think that's a great point, because I think that so many people take nutrition as black or white. Like, you're either eating super healthy and following this road to a T, or you are totally not on that train at all, and you're having fried chicken, cheeseburgers, and fries, like you're just totally off the rails. And there's a time and a place, and there's a blend. Like, we still need to, I hear this all the time, well, you want me to do this, but I want to live my life.
Yeah.
Like, well, I live my life too, but I know exactly how certain things make me feel, and I don't like feeling certain ways. So for me, over time, it's made that choice easier.
Yeah.
If you were to know me in my past life, when I played golf and was younger, I ate and drank whatever I wanted. I would come home at night and I would drink beer. That was my sit on the back porch and chill.
Yeah.
It was not uncommon for me to eat an entire large Pizza Hut thin crust pizza by myself. I mean, I love food, and I can flat out eat some food.
Yeah.
And it wasn't always the best choices. But I did it because I thought I could get away with it.
Yeah.
Until I started taking better care of myself and realized that the things that I was putting in my body made me feel a certain way. I didn't know how bad I felt until I felt good.
Yeah.
And then I was like, holy crap, you felt bad. But I didn't know it until I cleaned all of that stuff out. I actually started sleeping at night. Now I know what it feels like to not get sleep. I know what it feels like to have, and people are going to laugh, but 2 beers and then go to bed because that's pretty much all I can handle now.
Yeah.
I know what it feels like when I go home to Indiana to visit my family because I know that I'm on a little bit of a vacation. I know that my family's going to go and we're going to have pizza. When I'm here by myself, I don't go out for pizza by myself anymore.
Yeah.
Like I used to.
Yeah.
So, but I will go out and I will have pizza. I will have a beer at dinner. I will, if it's a birthday that I'm there for or Christmas, I will have the cake. I will have the cookies.
Yeah.
But by the time I get done with the trip, I'm craving a spinach salad. Like I start to crave fruits and vegetables and getting back to my normal
you miss it.
routine.
Yeah.
I miss it. You start to appreciate the way real food tastes. And when you don't have things like chicken the way that you fix it, and people are going to laugh because if you haven't been through this entire process, and it's a long process. It took me a long time to get to this point.
Yeah.
It's not like I just woke up one morning and was like, forget it, I'm never eating pizza again. I used to eat cinnamon toaster strudels for breakfast in the morning. Cinnamon rolls were my jam.
Yeah.
Like, that kind of stuff is what I grew up with, and I loved it.
Yeah.
I didn't just wake up one morning and say, I'm done with all of that. I'm going to switch to eggs and oatmeal for breakfast, chicken and broccoli for lunch, and, I don't know, chicken, asparagus, and a salad for dinner.
Yeah.
It took me a long time to get to that point. I had to figure out how I like to cook it,
Yeah.
how I like to eat it, but it's now become so routine for me that outside of that routine, I feel like I'm being drugged down the road behind a pickup truck and beat with a baseball bat. Like I physically don't feel good.
Yeah.
But I can look back at the time that I'm gone and I enjoyed my time with my family. I know that what I did is not part of my routine, and I know as soon as I get on the plane to come back, we're right back in our routine.
Yeah.
And that takes a lot of practice, and this is part of the nutrition program education that people receive.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people when they think about nutrition, because we talk about fitness in the nutrition world being such a young thing, and everybody kind of navigating their way through it, they think of things like a Weight Watchers program, which works for those people that choose to do it. Is it a life-changing thing for the duration of their life? Maybe for some people it is. Maybe for some people, though, they don't learn what food really is. Like, they might know that dairy counts for 2 points,
Yeah.
but what do they get out of dairy? Like, what do they get out of that cup of milk?
Yeah.
They might know that chicken is worth 3 points, but what are they getting out of the chicken? Why do we need that?
Yeah.
And I think that's where our education is far different, and why it's a process and not a challenge or just an app. Like, there's a huge educational value to it, and that's why we've designed it the way that we have, with you have to come in and meet with the coach once a week.
Yeah.
If you feel that you need check-ins daily or every other day, we'll set that up.
Yeah.
Tell me what you need in order to be successful for this program to work for you, and what is the definition of success for you.
Yeah, I think a lot of, this process is unlearning and relearning, because, we all come from different backgrounds, whether that is just the way we were brought up, or, the diets we have tried in the past, or the combination of the two. I tell people all the time, like, again, talking about who you live with and what home life looks like, you can live with somebody and, you're still 2 different people. Like, for example, Aaron, my now husband, which is weird to say, but he grew up, you know, where his mom cooked meals, I would say from scratch, you know, had dinner every day consistently at, we'll say, like 5 o'clock. Snacks were like not a thing. You were not snacking. You either ate your meal or you're hungry, you know. And I grew up way differently where, you know, I will say my parents were much younger when they had me, but we had like TV trays where we would sit down at the couch and eat, you know, like sitting on the couch for Aaron and his family was, again, not a thing.
That's
not allowed.
Yep.
You know, we would have some microwave dinners if things were, you know, tight or if like time was limited. So, you know, even just having, you know, people in your home with different backgrounds too, not even friends and family can be, you know, a challenge because, you know, again, we don't live in a vacuum. Even if you as an individual are focusing on your nutrition, there are all of these other people, all these other environments that you have to take into account because, you know, I'm not going to sit with you, unfortunately and fortunately,
right.
at every meal, you know, helping you put together, you know, your meals, helping you cook. So there's a lot of things that, you know, as far as, again, previous diets or our upbringings that we may have to unlearn or, you know, kind of challenge, you know, in a way. And there's maybe even a lot of conversations that you have to have outside of, you know, your coach and you that are tough, you know, like you may have to tell your spouse, like, hey, I know our, you know, Friday plan is always pizza and beer, but, you know, I'm trying to improve my nutrition. So maybe we, instead of going out for pizza, go try a new restaurant where the food quality is a little bit better, you know, like
sushi's a great date night option.
So, you know, again, there's a lot of things that, that change, you know, that aren't just your nutrition.
Yeah.
And kind of, I wanted to go back to like, you know, you said Weight Watchers, a lot of those, you know, we'll say Weight Watchers, keto,
intermittent fasting.
Yeah, intermittent fasting, like all of those things are really well marketed to make people believe that they're like special and that, you know, there's something about this that like changes lives, which again, it can, but I think the biggest thing is, again, is it sustainable for you? And a lot of times those diets end up just reducing your overall like intake because now you're just cutting out either a whole food group or you're just cutting out, you know, like something is being cut out, basically.
Ooh, and this brings up my favorite subject. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to
interrupt.
it's okay.
Go ahead. And, you know, again, a lot of people come to us with histories like that and, you know, come with a lot of fear, a lot of like unknowns, like they don't feel still educated after going through those diets or processes. And, you know, I try to tell people, like, if this is something, you know, if they come to me and say, I really want to do that, you know, it's like, we can try and make it work, but, you know, at a point, we have to ask ourselves, again, can I keep this up forever? And, you know, are the results I'm going to achieve because of this going to last? Like, and, you know, not to harp on those, like, diets too much, but it's really just a matter of, like, can you keep it up and can it be something you stick to for the rest of your life? And if you truly don't see that lasting, I would say more than a year or two, then it's probably not the best way to approach your nutrition.
Right. And if you understand if you have a coach who truly understands how the human body works, there's very few demographics that will do really well on keto. And it's going to be people who have diseases. Like a cancer patient will do really well with keto. A long distance endurance runner can potentially get away with a more keto diet because of how long it takes to turn fat into glucose. Everybody else I hate to burst everybody's bubble, but the human body runs off of glucose.
Yeah.
It's
unnecessary.
It's a fact. I'm not making it up. I'm not pulling it out of my butt. Every human being on the planet runs off of glucose. We run off of carbohydrates.
Yeah.
We have to have them. And when people cut them out, it messes with our hydration levels. It messes with a lot of things. And then you have to find yourself supplementing with other things because of that. And it can mess with your sleep. It can mess with your recovery. If you're an athlete, it messes with your performance. Like, it's a really big deal. And searching out a professional coach who can navigate that with you is super important.
Yeah.
And the reason why I said this brings up my favorite subject, because I'm very passionate about this, is documentaries.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
By far my favorite subject to talk about, because we have people come in here all the time. Like, we will preach nutrition until we're blue in the face, and it never fails. Somebody walks in the door and they're like, did you see the blah, blah, blah documentary?
Yeah.
We shouldn't eat meat. We shouldn't eat vegetables. We shouldn't eat carbs. And the answer that comes back every single time that I tell every person is, who funded the documentary? Anybody can make a documentary.
Yeah.
If you wanted to make a documentary on why you shouldn't wear shoes and why shoes are killing you, you totally could. You just have to find the right people who also believe maybe it's a sock company that wants to sell more of their socks.
Yeah.
I will fund you and have you do an entire documentary on why you should wear these socks because these shoes are bad and they will kill you.
Yeah.
Like, everybody has to take that into consideration. And when you start working with a more professional coach in the nutrition world, they will navigate all those conversations with you.
Yeah.
As opposed to, I mean, that's unfortunately the world that we live in with media and social media, and literally anybody can produce anything that says anything.
Yep. Yeah. Anyone can put anything out there, and there's, you know, kind of going back to mindset and like psychology, there's literally a thing called confirmation bias, where what you believe, you will seek out. So if you believe that, you know, say you watch some documentary and now you believe that we should not have vegetables ever again, you're going to seek out things, or, you know, your brain is going to kind of highlight things that support that. So, you know, it can be really tough because, again, people like come to us with these histories of believing X, Y, and Z, and we're basically popping all of those bubbles, you know, like telling you that's not true, or that's not even like supported by research, like, you know, and again, it can be a tough like pill to swallow when you're hearing that what you thought was true is not, or what you thought was good for you is not, and you know, it kind of goes into, again, more mindset stuff with like not, you know, beating yourself up for those things. Like, you know, now you're better informed and we can kind of move forward from there. But, you know, these are things that you have to be very like skeptical about, you know.
Right.
And if you don't have, again, like the kind of basis of nutritional education, you're going to not know what's right or what's wrong, or what's correct and what's not, you know.
And your social media page, you do an amazing job with your social media.
Thank you.
So for those of us wanting to find you on social media, I asked Aaron his the other day, and he was like, do you know your Instagram and social media?
I do. I'm like, I don't know if that's a good thing or bad thing, but it's funny because I did change it, obviously, after we got married, and Rose is a very common last name, apparently, compared to Reback. So it's Ciana Rose with 3 E's, but Ciana is Ciana.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Nice. So I hope everybody heads to your page, gives you a follow. Yourself, and we have 2 other coaches in our gym, Rachel and Eric, who also help with our Ferrum Fed nutrition program. If you're interested, head over to our website at ferrumathleticco.com and shoot us an email and sign up for a consultation.
Yeah.
Ciana, it was awesome speaking with you today.
Yeah, it was so fun.
We'll see you soon. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Ferrum Athletic Company podcast. If you like the show, please leave us a review, Share it with your family and friends. Share it on your social media platforms. Our mission is to build better humans through the education of health and movement. If this resonates with you, please shoot us an email at forged@ferrumathleticco.com. Follow us on social media, Facebook or Instagram at Ferrum Athletic Co. And we will see you all soon. Thank you for helping us to build better humans.